Disclaimer: it's inspired by reality, shaped by imagination.
Nobody in the studio expected Jason Statham to snap. Not the producers, not the audience, and definitely not Joy Behar. The show was supposed to be a simple debate about whether Hollywood has lost touch with real American life. But from the moment Jason walked onto the stage, jaw tight and eyes locked forward, something felt off. Joy threw the first jab. Jason didn't blink. Sonny tried to soften the tension. It didn't work. Whoopi kept glancing at the control room, already sensing trouble. Then Jason leaned forward, lowered his voice, and said something that made the entire room go silent. It wasn't scripted. It wasn't polished. It was raw and personal, a truth he'd been holding for years. The audience gasped. Joy's smile vanished, and the cameras, instead of cutting to commercial, stayed rolling. What followed was one of the most heated, uncomfortable, and talked about moments The View has ever aired, a clash between Hollywood action royalty and a co-host who refuses to back down, exposing a deep divide about fame, privilege, and who actually understands the everyday American experience.
The moment Jason Statham walked out from backstage, the crowd roared like they were at a movie premiere, not a morning talk show. He gave a small nod, hands in his pockets, the same focused look he wears before a stunt scene. Joy Behar watched him with that half-smirk she saves her guests she thinks she can outmaneuver. She didn't know yet that he'd come with a point to make and wasn't interested in dancing around it. Whoopi welcomed him with her usual warm tone. "Jason, good to have you here. We're talking about whether Hollywood has lost touch with real American life. You've been in the business a long time, so I'm curious how you see it." Jason shrugged. "I see a lot of folks pretending to understand people they've never met. That's my first thought." It landed like a slap. A few audience members even oohed. Joy leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Sounds like you're taking a jab at your own industry. You're part of Hollywood, aren't you?" Jason didn't flinch. "Yeah, and I'm not afraid to say when something doesn't sit right." Sonny raised her hand, trying to circle the conversation back before it took off too fast. "When you say Hollywood is disconnected, what do you mean? Is it the types of stories being told, the way celebrities speak on issues?" Jason nodded. "A bit of both. You've got actors with all the money in the world lecturing folks who are working two jobs. You've got films written by people who've never stepped foot in the places they're writing about. And you've got studios chasing trends instead of real stories." Joy jumped in. "But Hollywood also supports a lot of causes. It raises money. It pushes awareness. Are you saying that's useless?" Jason shook his head. "Awareness isn't the same as understanding. You can't relate to a welder in Ohio if you've never had a hard day in your life." Joy tilted her head. "And you have?" Jason looked right at her. "I was a street vendor before I ever did a single film. My parents were working-class people. I've lived a life. I haven't forgotten it." That answer made the audience clap. Joy didn't like that. Her smile tightened. "Well, Jason, Hollywood gave you a platform. You're successful because of the system you're criticizing." He leaned back, arms crossed. "Success doesn't mean silence." A ripple of applause. Joy shot a glance toward the crowd, annoyed they weren't on her side. Whoopi tried again to balance the energy. "Let's get specific. What do you think Hollywood should do differently?" Jason straightened up. "Stop pretending it speaks for everyone. Stop preaching to folks who didn't ask for a lecture, and start telling stories that actually matter to people who aren't on red carpets." Sonny nodded. "Some of that is fair, but Hollywood has always been aspirational. People go to movies to escape." Jason softened a bit. "Escapism is great, but even escapism works best when it comes from something real. That's why the old action movies hit so hard. They came from people who understood grit." Joy crossed her arms. "Are you saying today's actors don't have grit?" Jason gave a slow exhale. "I'm saying some people play tough on screen, but couldn't survive a real tough day if their life depended on it." The audience laughed. Joy didn't. "You know," she said, lips pursed, "you sound like one of those people who thinks Hollywood has gone soft, or political, or whatever the word is this week." Jason looked her straight in the eye. "I think Hollywood has forgotten where the audience comes from." The room felt tighter. Cameras zoomed in. Joy's expression sharpened like she was gearing up for her counterattack. "So," she said, leaning forward, "let's get this straight. Are you claiming that Hollywood doesn't represent real America because it doesn't match your idea of what America is?" Jason didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "I'm saying Hollywood stopped listening. That's the problem." A murmur swept through the audience. Some nodded, some whispered. Joy clocked every reaction, knowing the crowd wasn't falling into her rhythm like usual. Whoopi looked to camera too, almost ready to cut to commercial, but the debate had hooked everyone so strongly, the control room stayed quiet. They wanted this moment. Jason rested his elbows on the table. People are tired of being talked at. They want stories, not sermons. Joy tapped her cards on the desk. "And you think you're the one who knows what America wants?" Jason gave a calm, steady answer. "I think people know when they're being ignored." The audience applauded again, louder this time. Joy waved her hand as if brushing the sound away. And that's when the tension shifted from heated to unstable, like dry wood catching sparks.
Joy didn't waste a second. The applause had clearly rubbed her the wrong way, and she came back in swinging. "Jason, you keep saying Hollywood ignores people, but you also benefit from the exact machine you're criticizing. Isn't that convenient?" Her tone carried that familiar edge, the one viewers recognize right before she tries to pin a guest into a contradiction. Jason didn't blink. "Comfort doesn't erase the truth. I'm part of Hollywood, yes, and because I'm inside it, I can say what's going wrong." "Or," Joy said, lifting her eyebrows, "you're just feeding into this talk about real America that everyone throws around when they want applause." A soft wave of murmurs rolled through the studio. The tension had officially moved from interesting to charged. Jason leaned forward. "There's nothing political about saying folks want films they can relate to. Listen to the box office. People choose what resonates. That's not ideology, it's reality." Sonny tried stepping in. "Maybe the problem is that Hollywood tries to represent everything at once and ends up pleasing no one." But Joy wasn't letting go. "No, the problem is everyone thinks their version of authenticity is the only real one. You talk about welders in Ohio like you're their spokesperson." "I'm not speaking for them," Jason shot back. "I'm saying they deserve stories too. And I'm saying Hollywood forgot about the people who don't live in luxury zip codes." Joy's voice sharpened. "You're making it sound like Hollywood hates regular people." Jason raised his hand. "I didn't say hate. I said disconnected." "And what's the difference?" Joy pushed. Jason didn't rush his answer. "One means there's no relationship at all. The other means the relationship still exists, but one side isn't paying attention." The audience reacted again. Several people clapped, others nodded. Joy noticed. Her lips tightened. Whoopi stepped in gently. "Let's get into specifics. Jason, give us an example. What's a moment that made you think Hollywood was drifting away from everyday life?" Jason took a breath. "I was at an industry event last year, full of producers and executives. Someone made a joke about people who work hourly jobs like they were some kind of punchline, and everyone laughed. That told me everything." The room went still. Joy shook her head. "That's one room, one moment. You can't judge the entire industry by a few out-of-touch people. But they're the people making decisions. They're the ones picking the stories," Jason said. Sonny nodded slowly. "I actually think he's right on that part. The people in charge aren't exactly living the same life as the average viewer." Anna jumped in from across the table. "Hollywood is a bubble. It just is. But if it's a bubble, why blame the entire industry? The audience also chooses what they want. Maybe people want big franchises and escapism." Jason shrugged. "Escapism is fine, but even escapism needs heart, something honest. Look at the movies people rewatch over and over. They're grounded in something real." Joy cracked a small, cutting smile. "And you think you're the expert on what's real?" Jason didn't budge. "No, I think I'm someone who remembers where I came from." That line hit harder than expected. The audience applauded again, louder than before. A few people even stood. Joy's smile disappeared. "You keep leaning on your past like it's a badge that gives you more insight than anyone else. Everyone at this table has a story. Everyone's worked hard. Everyone's lived life." Jason nodded. "I'm not saying otherwise, but not everyone loses touch the same way. Some people forget the moment the cameras hit." That landed like a punch. Even Whoopi's eyes widened. "Is that aimed at someone specific?" Joy asked, voice low but sharp. Jason kept his face neutral. "If the shoe fits." The audience reacted again, this time with laughter mixed into the applause. Joy held up a hand toward them, annoyed. Let me tell you something. Hollywood is trying. It's trying to reflect America's diversity, its struggles, its triumphs. Maybe you don't like the way it's doing it, but that doesn't mean it's forgotten people. Jason pointed to the crowd. Ask them. Ask anyone who watched a movie in the last 5 years and walked out thinking, who was that made for? Whoopi pressed her lips together, recognizing the moment had become a direct showdown. Joy sat up straighter. You are acting like Hollywood owes people something. Jason leaned forward again. It does. It owes them honesty. The studio went silent. Even the crew froze behind the cameras. Joy narrowed her eyes. Hollywood owes creativity, innovation, art. It doesn't owe anyone a documentary of their personal life. Jason nodded slowly. It owes stories that come from truth. Everything else is noise. It was no longer just a disagreement. The energy on set felt like a fuse had been lit and was burning fast. Whoopi glanced toward the control room as if asking whether they should break, but the producers knew better. When a moment like this hits daytime TV, you let it ride. Joy finally said, "So you're claiming Hollywood is failing America?" Jason held her gaze without blinking. "I'm saying it's failing to listen, and people are tired of shouting to be heard." That pushed the room into full heat. Viewers at home would feel it through their screens, and everyone at the table could see what was coming next.
The air on set felt thick, like everyone had agreed to hold their breath at the same time. Joy leaned back on her chair, crossing her arms in that familiar "I'm not done with you" posture. Jason rested his elbows on the table, hands clasped, looking calmer than anyone expected. Calm enough that it made the tension sharper. Sonny tried to reset the tone. Maybe we're all circling the same idea from different angles. Hollywood wants to tell meaningful stories, but maybe it... But Joy didn't let her finish. No, let's stay with Jason's point. He just accused an entire industry of ignoring real Americans. That's not a small claim. Jason lifted his chin slightly. And I stand by it. Joy pressed. Then tell me this. If Hollywood is so broken, why do you stay? Why not walk away? Jason didn't hesitate. Because I believe it can be better. I'm not here to abandon it. I'm here to call it out. That answer didn't soften Joy. It hardened her. See, that's what bugs me. You talk like you're some lone warrior saving the soul of cinema, but Hollywood is made of people who care. Writers, grips, set designers, makeup artists, editors, people who work from dawn to midnight. Are they disconnected too? Jason opened his palms. No, those are the people who make Hollywood great. The problem isn't the workers, it's the leadership, the ones making the choices. Joy's jaw tightened. You keep saying that, but you haven't named a single person. Jason said, because it's not about calling out individuals. It's about a culture, a mindset. Joy fired back. And what mindset is that? Jason met her stare. The one that says the average American life isn't interesting enough to put on screen. That line hit the room like a lightning bolt. Even the co-hosts froze. Jennifer, sitting at the far end, raised her eyebrows. Wow. The audience reacted with a rumble of gasps and scattered applause. Joy leaned closer, almost challenging him. You really think that? You think Hollywood looks down on regular people? Jason didn't blink. I've heard it with my own ears. From who? Joy demanded. Jason paused. His silence said more than any name could. Whoopi watched the exchange carefully. This is getting into some heavy territory. Are you saying Hollywood is elitist? Jason nodded once. Yes. Joy shot back immediately. Then why should anyone listen to you either? You're part of that same elite. That's exactly why they should, because I know the difference between the world I grew up in and the world I work in now. For the first time, Jason's voice carried something deeper, less controlled, more vulnerable. He said, I came from a place where neighbors helped each other fix cars on weekends, where people worked overtime, not for vacations, but to keep a roof up. When I sit in meetings now, I see people who talk about those same folks like statistics. Sonny nodded slowly, absorbing the weight of it. Joy wasn't moved. So we're back to this idea that Hollywood is some sneering tower overlooking hardworking Americans. She shook her head. I don't buy it. Jason exhaled through his nose. Then you're not paying attention. That line set Joy off. Oh, don't lecture me about paying attention. I've been in this business longer than you. I talk to people every day. Teachers, nurses, retirees, parents, students. They call into this show. They write to us. They tell us what's on their minds. And you think you're the one who understands real America? Jason's tone stayed steady. I think a lot of people feel unseen, and they have for a long time. Joy shook her head, frustrated. People feel unseen in every era. That's not a Hollywood problem. That's a human problem. But Hollywood amplifies it. When the stories being told don't reflect people's lives, they feel erased. Jennifer jumped in quietly. I think he's talking about representation of everyday experience, not identity politics. More stories about normal families, middle-class struggles, small-town dreams. That's exactly what I'm saying, Jason agreed. Joy turned sharply toward Jennifer. Then maybe someone should pitch those stories instead of complaining. Jason leaned forward. People do pitch them. They get rejected. The audience erupted in soft, "Oh," reactions from the audience. Whoopi lifted her chin. You're oversimplifying. Studios have business realities. They need movies that make money. Jason didn't flinch. Movies with heart make money. Look at the classics. Look at films people pass down to their kids. Joy frowned. This isn't the 80s. People haven't changed. Only the gatekeepers have. Another shockwave moved across the set. Whoopi sighed. She'd been through enough heated moments on the show to know when they were crossing an invisible line. Let's try to pull this back before someone starts flipping the table. But Joy wasn't letting go. Jason, you're painting Hollywood as this cold, calculated monster, but the reality is more complicated than that. Jason nodded. And the reality is also that Hollywood loves preaching to people instead of listening to them. That was it. The audience gasped loudly. Joy's face hardened, and even Whoopi was stunned. Preaching? Joy repeated. Now you're accusing Hollywood of talking down to people? Jason didn't back off. I'm saying it forgot how to connect, and if it keeps going this way, people will stop listening altogether. That was the moment. The sharp emotional collision where both sides felt genuinely hit. Joy tightened her grip on her mug. Jason sat unmovable. The host exchanged looks, unsure how to steer this without making it worse. And the audience? They knew the storm wasn't over. They could feel something else building.
The tension had been building like steam inside a closed pot, and everyone on set could sense that it was about to blow. Joy adjusted her glasses with a sharp, clipped motion that said she wasn't done, not even close. Jason sat straighter, calm but firm, like he'd already decided he wouldn't back down no matter where this went. Whoopi looked between them. All right, let's bring this home without breaking the furniture, she joked lightly, but the room was too charged for humor to land. Joy leaned in. Jason, let's cut to the chase. You're accusing Hollywood of poaching, gatekeeping, disconnecting from regular people. But you work in that system. You profit from it. So what exactly are you asking America to believe? That you're the one honest man in a room full of phonies? Jason kept his composure. I'm asking people to question the stories they're being fed, and I'm asking Hollywood to remember who it's supposed to serve. Joy scoffed. Movies aren't soup kitchens, they're entertainment. You want reality? Turn on local news. Jason finally blinked, his patience thinning. Entertainment can still be honest. Honest? Joy repeated. You play assassins and mercenaries in half your movies. The audience reacted with loud laughs and scattered applause. Jason didn't smile. And those movies connect, because they're grounded in something human. Struggle, sacrifice, survival. Joy shook her head. That's not reality either. That's fantasy with muscles. People relate to courage, Jason said, voice a little sharper now. They relate to loyalty, to hardship. That's real. Then maybe you should try making a movie about what a single mom goes through when rent goes up, or what a retiree deals with when healthcare eats half their savings. Jason shot her a hard look. You think I don't know those stories? I came from people like that. Then make that movie, Joy challenged. Pitch it, produce it, use your power. Jason's jaw tightened. I have tried. Joy lifted her brows, waiting for more. Jason continued. Scripts get rejected before they're even read if they're not flashy enough or politically loud enough. Stories about quiet lives get tossed aside like they're boring. But those quiet lives are the heartbeat of the country. Whoopi looked down at the table. She knew that line was going to hit headlines. Joy crossed her arms. Jason, I'm not letting you skate by with vague claims. You keep saying Hollywood is disconnected, but you won't point to any real examples. It sounds like you're blaming the entire industry because a couple executives didn't greenlight your passion project.
The audience let out a low "Ooh." Jason's voice lowered. "This isn't about me. You're making it about you," Joy shot back. "You're the one saying Hollywood is broken. But maybe the problem is that you want the industry to revolve around your idea of real America." Jason leaned forward slowly, his tone tightening. "I want the industry to stop pretending it understands people it never listens to." That line shifted the energy again. Jennifer looked like she wanted to jump in, but she hesitated. Joy slammed her palm lightly against the table, not aggressively, but with enough force to punctuate her frustration. "You know what I'm tired of? Actors coming on this show and pretending they're spokespersons for millions. You're not a sociologist, Jason. You're an action star." Jason gave a half laugh, not amused, but incredulous. "So because I act for a living, I don't understand real people? That's a pretty insulting assumption." Joy shrugged. "It's not insulting, it's accurate." The audience reacted again, a mix of laughter, gasps, and murmurs. Jason sat back. "That's the problem right there. You talk like regular Americans are some strange species you get to define. But they're your viewers. They're the ones who buy tickets. They're the ones who built Hollywood in the first place." Joy raised her chin. "I'm not twisting your words. I'm repeating them." Joy's irritation flashed across her face. "Don't get cute." Jason stared right back. "Then stop underestimating people." He immediately felt it. A pressure drop, a hush, like something had crossed the line. Joy's expression froze. "I'm not underestimating anyone." Jason didn't look away. "Then stop talking like you are." Whoopi stepped in quickly. All right, everyone breathe. We're not solving the entire history of cinema in one morning." Joy held her mug tightly, knuckles white. Jason's posture stayed firm, but you could see the tension in his shoulders. Denise murmured, "This is getting uncomfortable." Sonny nodded, "We're hitting nerves on both sides." Joy turned toward Jason again, quieter, but more direct. "You came on this show to promote a movie. Now you're lecturing Hollywood like you're its moral compass." Jason answered without hesitation, "I'm speaking for millions who feel like their lives don't matter to the people telling their stories." Joy swallowed hard. "And I'm telling you, that isn't fair." Jason paused long enough that everyone waited to see if he would soften, if he would pull back. He didn't. "Fair or not, it's the truth." That final line hung in the air, heavy, unavoidable. Whoopi cleared her throat. "We have to take a break, clearly." But the audience could feel it. Something had cracked open between them. Something raw enough that even the break wouldn't fix it.
The break felt longer than it actually was. The audience whispered among themselves. Producers darted across the studio floor, and both Jason and Joy stayed in their chairs, silent, staring at different corners of the room. It wasn't anger now. It was something heavier, something that sat between pride and regret. When the cameras came back on, Whoopi spoke first. Her voice was calm, steady. "Welcome back to The View. Before the break, things got pretty intense. I think we can all agree on that." She glanced toward Jason, then toward Joy, giving both of them a small, grounding nod. Joy lifted her mug and set it down again. She wasn't her usual sharp-edged self. Her voice was softer when she finally spoke. "Look, Jason and I don't have to agree on everything. Or on most things, apparently." The audience chuckled lightly. Joy continued. "But one thing I do respect is honesty, even when it gets uncomfortable." Jason straightened, meeting her eyes. "I didn't come here to fight. I came here because I care about the conversation." Joy nodded, slowly. "Yeah, I hear that." For the first time since the segment started, the studio felt like it exhaled. Sonny leaned in. "This topic, Hollywood, real America, disconnects, perceptions, it's not simple, and it's emotional, because people feel overlooked, and others feel judged." Jason took a breath, and his tone shifted into something gentler. "When I say Hollywood's out of touch, I'm not saying everyone in the industry is clueless or cold. I'm saying there's a world outside the bubble that deserves respect. There are stories worth telling that don't need to be filtered through politics or trends." Joy's gaze softened. "And when I push back, it's because I've seen the flip side. People who rely on entertainment as escape. People who need representation, diversity, voices that weren't always heard. Those trends you criticize, some of them came from real demands to be seen." Jason nodded. "I can agree with that." Joy blinked, genuinely surprised. You can? Jason cracked the smallest smile. Of course I can. Progress is good. Change is good. But balance matters. You can evolve without losing sight of the people who kept you afloat in the first place. Drew let out a breathy laugh. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. The audience applauded. Not loud, not wild, but warm, supportive, relieved. Joy leaned back, folding her hands. Look, Jason, I may have come at you a little hard. Jason raised an eyebrow. A little?
The audience laughed again, and Joy actually smiled. Fine, more than a little. But it's because I've been in this chair for years. I've seen celebrities breeze through and act like they've carried the weight of the world on their backs. So when someone starts talking about real Americans, I get suspicious. Jason understood. You could see it in the way he nodded. Fair enough. But I didn't mean it as some grand claim. I meant the people I know, the people I grew up with, the people still struggling through life while the industry tries to guess what they want instead of listening. Joy looked down for a moment, then back up. You know, I can respect that version of the argument a whole lot more. Whoopi cut in gently. This is what happens when people breathe, listen, and don't treat disagreement like a win-or-lose sport. The crowd clapped again. Jason shifted in his seat. If I came off like I was attacking everyone in Hollywood, that wasn't my intention. And Joy, if my words hit a nerve, I get that too. Joy accepted that with a small, appreciative bow of her head. We're good. There was a moment, brief but real, where the energy finally settled. The earlier edge had faded, replaced by something lighter, more grounded. Sonny smiled. I think what we saw today is part of a bigger conversation happening in this country. People feel ignored, people feel misrepresented, people feel misunderstood. And if nothing else, this conversation showed how deeply that matters. Jason added, and maybe that's the real point. Hollywood hasn't lost touch forever. It just needs to listen better. We all do. Joy pointed at him with her mug. Now that I can toast to. Even Whoopi laughed. She wrapped things up with a tone only she could pull off. Steady, thoughtful, a little playful. All right, folks. What you saw today wasn't pretty at times, but it was honest. And maybe that's what we need more of. Not perfect answers, not perfect people, just honest talk about what's happening out there. The audience applauded once more, louder now, grateful for the emotional landing. Joy looked at Jason, extending a hand. Good debate. Jason shook it. Good fight. The cameras panned out as the outro music played, showing the two of them smiling. Not best friends, not total opponents, just two people who clashed, confronted, and found their way back to respect. And as the credits rolled, social media exploded. But for now, on that stage, the air had finally cleared.